This Sunday, March 5th, AEW puts together their very first pay-per-view event of the year 2023. We're talking about Revolution. They've got about 7 to 8 matches on the card. Some of them have been better built than others. In my opinion, some of these matches are more thrown together than others, but we'll just have to wait and see how the actual pay-per-view itself goes down. For the most part, the AEW talent roster is pretty damn good at what they do, so I expect a pretty entertaining night all around. So with that said, we have to start off with a no-holds-barred match between Christian Cage and Jungle Boy Jack Perry. And I've got to say, when Christian Cage made his return to Dynamite about a week and a half ago, it kind of felt anticlimactic for the most part. Number one, because he's been gone for a while. And yes, he is one of the biggest names in wrestling today. He is a 3, 4, 5-time world champion at this point. But he hasn't really been a part of AEW TV ever since his injury. Now, will this match go down the way I think it will? I think Christian Cage might get the win with a little help from Luchasaurus over Jungle Boy Jack Perry. And my fear is that this rivalry, this feud between these two men will not be over. Because, like I said, Christian Cage's return felt anticlimactic in the fact that I want Jungle Boy to move on. I want Jungle Boy to move on to bigger and better things. The TNT title, the Mid-Atlantic title, one of the mid-card championships. Start building him up as a true contender for a championship in AEW instead of throwing him back against AEW's Christian Cage and Luchasaurus, who, in my opinion, at this point, are just holding back the Jungle Boy's potential. So overall, the thing is, if Jungle Boy wins, Christian Cage might still try to come back. If Christian Cage wins, Jungle Boy still might come back. I think it's just a matter of whoever wins this match is going to have to, at the end of the day, move on to other things a little bit after, just to get away from this feud entirely. Because at this point, at least in my view, I just don't want to see this feud, this rivalry, this match at all. It's in the past. Leave it in the past. Revisit it 2-3 years later, of course. But right now, move these guys on. We also got a trios match for the AEW World Trios Championship. The Elite, Kenny Omega, Matt and Nick Jackson face off and defend their titles against the House of Black in Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews. 6-man tag team matches in AEW are usually entertaining. They're pretty chaotic. The referee never has any control. The officials never have any control. And sometimes even the commentators don't have any idea who's the legal man when it comes to these multi-man matches. The easiest part here is it's just one team versus the other. If it was a multi-team venture like the World Tag Team title match, then that would be an even bigger issue. As far as who wins, it's hard to say. The Elite has done a terrific job of defending the championships pretty much every week on Rampage and on Dynamite. So they've racked up some title defenses. So a loss to the House of Black wouldn't be too bad, because at that point you strengthen the division, which is very, very small at this point in the trios division. And much like what Tony Khan did with the tag team titles by rewarding the Guns and trying to build the Guns up at this moment in time, they could do the same with the House of Black. And at this point in their story, at this point in their tenure in AEW, the House of Black has been mostly all talk, all show, all theatrics, and nothing in the ring, no results. They haven't won a championship. Malachi Black has barely beaten any of his big opponents that he has faced. And to be honest, I feel like if the House of Black, who I think is going to walk out with the World Trios Championship, I feel like if they do walk out with the titles, this might lead to an awesome main event Dynamite match. And I mean Dynamite the show, not the title. But Malachi Black versus Kenny Omega one-on-one on Dynamite in the main event of any Wednesday night Dynamite, that'll be killer. That'll be must-see. So I'm looking forward to that. So in that case, I have to give it to the House of Black. They become the new World Trios Championship. And of course, the babyfaces in the Elite have to chase the heels. And it solidifies the House of Black as an actual threat for the first time on AEW TV. We already talked about the tag team titles. I touched upon it just a little bit right now. Let's delve right into it. It's a 4-way tag team match for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. And to be honest, there are so many tag teams in AEW that this match shouldn't even be a thing. The way this match was built up, the way these four teams were thrown together just for the chaotic, cheap pop moment match of a cluster fuck that's going to be this match at the pay-per-view. Well, that's what they want. That's what they're going to get. But I honestly would have been completely okay with the Guns defending the World Tag Team titles in a straight-up one-on-one rematch with the Acclaimed. And then the Acclaimed wins them back because they are the most over tag team, one of the most over acts in AEW today. And at the end of it all, you can still just say that, hey, the Guns are former tag team champions. They can use that. They can brag about it later on on TV when they get more over with the crowd. When you actually start believing like there are threats, real threats to the tag team titles, instead of just handing them the titles. Because this 4-way tag team match just seems like a way for the Guns to retain their tag team titles, which I think they will. Obviously they will. And they will have to pin, or in this case, I believe they will pin Danhausen. Orange Cassidy and Danhausen have no chance in hell of winning the tag team titles in this. Basically, they're just here to take the pinfall in this match. To protect the Guns. To protect the Acclaimed. To protect Lethal and Jarrett. That's it. And it's not going to be Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy is the Mid-Atlantic champion in AEW. So Danhausen, he's a very entertaining act, but the guy can't wrestle. He can't be let me correct that. He can wrestle. It's just that he's not a big enough threat, a believable threat to anybody when it comes to title defenses. So as far as I'm concerned, the Guns win this by pinning Danhausen. They retain the titles, and then somewhere down the line, Dynamite, Rampage, a big special show, or even at Double or Nothing, we finally get the Acclaimed back on top for the tag team titles, which is where they should be at this point in time. We have a 3-way match for the AEW Women's World Championship. And unfortunately, AEW has done everything in their power to build this match around loyalties, around picking a side, and not the Women's World Championship, which is the main title. Of course, it's the top championship in your division. It should be about that. And even though Ruby Soho has come out and said and pointed at the championship and said that she wants to be champion, that's come off as a B story to the A story, which is Ruby Soho gonna side with the homegrown AEW stars in Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker? Or is she gonna side with the quote-unquote superstar side of things in Saraya, who is also in this match, and Toni Storm? And she's gonna have to pick, maybe this Sunday at Revolution, maybe down the line on the random episode of Dynamite or Rampage. I don't know. But this 3-way match just seems like that, a precursor to Ruby Soho actually picking a side. And at first, I wasn't interested in this idea of the homegrowns versus the superstars in the women's division. I felt like this could be a way to build and grow the division. But it's just been so lackluster that I've lost interest in the entire storyline. So if I lost interest in the storyline, this match is for the Women's World title. I want the Women's World title to be the focal point. I want it to be the most important thing. And just for the sake of it, Jamie Hayter retains the championships, in my opinion, in my view, because Ruby Soho doesn't make up her mind. She doesn't make a choice. I'm guessing Toni Storm cost Ruby Soho the title. Hayter is able to retain, and then that leads to more infighting in the women's division. That's what I'm thinking that they're going to book. We'll just have to wait and see. We have a singles match between Chris Jericho and Ricky Starks where the Jericho Appreciation Society is barred from ringside. They will not be making an appearance in this match. No Jake Hager, no Sammy Guevara, no Danny Garcia. I forget the other guys' two names. I'm sorry. But they won't be a part of this match. And frankly, this is a pretty easy one to predict. This is a pretty simple one to predict. Ricky Starks gets the win clean. Again, I don't want this feud to continue. Again, Ricky Starks should be moving on to the mid-card championships or become a top contender for the world championships at this point. Instead of, Chris Jericho's a big name, but he's already beaten him. He's already beaten Chris Jericho, yes, on TV. Now he gets to beat him on pay-per-view, which is an even bigger W for Ricky Starks. And just go from there. And then the JAS can move on to other things. Again, I feel like Revolution is more of a cut your losses pay-per-view and then move on to bigger, better rivalries and feuds down the line towards the rest of the year. AEW has done a fantastic job of building their homegrown stars, but they need to keep that momentum and keep pushing them forward for them to maintain that momentum. Ricky Starks is definitely one of them. The singles match for the AEW TNT Championship, Samoa Joe versus Wardlow. Now this one is a little bit tricky because Samoa Joe is the TNT champion. He has it coming. Everything he's done on TV, he's disrespected Wardlow up until this point. We also had a story about how he cut his hair and how that hair connected Wardlow to his late father. Pretty good layer to add to that story. The issue here is I feel like Wardlow should be the one, or if not, one of the main candidates to dethrone MJF as AEW World Champion down the line. Whether that happens at Double or Nothing in May, or All Out in August or September, we'll just have to wait and see. But I feel like Wardlow should be grooming himself for that. So if you're not going to take the title off of MJF at Double or Nothing, then you have Wardlow win this match and win the TNT Championship and just parade that thing on TV like he's done in the past, and then Samoa Joe can just go to Ring of Honor and be the Ring of Honor World Television Champion. Or if you will have Wardlow become a number one contender pretty damn quick, then in that case Samoa Joe retains and eventually Samoa Joe loses the championship to Jungle Boy or Ricky Starks or hell, Hangman Adam Page or Jon Moxley, whichever one of those two can win the title as well. But it's pretty tricky because I feel like they gotta get the title off of Samoa Joe so that he can go on and be Ring of Honor World Television Champion very soon with Ring of Honor TV starting back up. So in the end, I'm still going with Wardlow winning the title. I feel like that will be a pretty good story to tell on TV with the fact that he gets his revenge, that Samoa Joe gets his comeuppance, and then Samoa Joe just is off AEW TV for the time that he is Ring of Honor TV champion. We also have the Texas Death Match. At this point, is this the fourth or fifth match between Moxley and Adam Hangman Page? I've lost count at this point. I have a very controversial comment that not a lot of fans will like, and I'm okay with that. I've been fine with that my entire career as a pundit. I'm not a fan of blood in pro wrestling. I like a little blood every once in a while, whenever the story dictates it, whenever the moment dictates it. If it's an accident, okay, it happens. But just what AEW has been doing in the recent past with Jon Moxley, I think he's been bleeding on TV for 3 to 4 weeks at this point in a row. And I get it. A lot of pro wrestling fans, hardcore wrestling fans, love that. They adore that. They want to see blood on TV. Here's the thing. We're about to have a Texas death match at Revolution between two rivals in Page and in Moxley, who in storyline hate each other like no one else. They hate their guts completely. Nobody can deny that. They've beaten the shit out of each other week in, week out. They don't respect each other. This match, not only for the win, but it's also about respect between these two men. And this match dictates that they're going to beat the living crap out of each other. And obviously that's going to lead to blood. That's going to lead to a bloody mess from Jon Moxley and from Hangman Page. I understand that. So why the hell do you have Jon Moxley bleed himself out 2, 3, 4 weeks in a row on TV? When blood in pro wrestling should be an asset. It should be a prop. It should be a way to elevate things. It should be a way to elevate the story. It should be a way to elevate the match. But you're using it every single week. And guess what? When they do eventually bleed in this match at Revolution, it's going to mean a lot less. Because we've already seen this on TV. It doesn't take too much to have Moxley bleed. So at this point, we're just getting ready for this Texas death match just to see how fast both of these men can bleed and who gets the win in this match. That's it. That's it. Not to say it's not interesting, but I feel like it's lost most of its value. Most of its storyline value. And it's just me. That's just me, alright? That's just me. I honestly feel like the blood has taken away from this feud at this point because the Texas death match is supposed to bring that factor in. They're both going to be bloody messes at the pay-per-view. Let that be a surprise. Let that be the moment where we, as wrestling fans, are in shock and awe. Instead of something we obviously expect because Moxley has been bleeding himself out week in and week out on AEW TV for the past month. Overall, I think Adam Hangman Page wins this match, earns Moxley's respect, and hopefully Moxley can take a vacation that he's finally earned. He has been the one who has been carrying Ring of Honor over the past few months, almost the past year and a half. So Page takes this one. And finally, we get to the main event, the 60-minute Iron Man match between MJF and Bryan Danielson. And if you've been listening to me this entire video, then you know that I have already predicted that MJF will retain the title. He will remain champion with underhanded tactics, of course, but that's not to say that in the 60 minutes that this match takes, he will surprise a lot of wrestling fans out there who think that he cannot wrestle because he can wrestle. He can, and he's a pretty damn good wrestler. He just doesn't show it because he is an old school heel in the best way possible. After this, I think, MJF retains the championship, proves that he can go 60 minutes with Bryan Danielson, proves to wrestling fans and the commentators and everybody out there, all the doubters, that he can indeed wrestle. And then MJF possibly versus Hangman Adam Page at Double or Nothing. That would be a pretty good matchup. Pretty good main event. And then Bryan Danielson, you have to really, really build him back up after this. Especially as a star, especially as a name value star, superstar. Because I feel like ever since he made his debut, he's pretty much gone down in value. He doesn't seem as big of a deal as a Chris Jericho, as a Jon Moxley, as an MJF, as a CM Punk. He seems like a level below that. And for the American Dragon, that's unacceptable. He is that damn good on the mic and in the ring. He should not be in the position he is. And for all we know, going 60 minutes with MJF in the main event and coming up short, that might be it. That might be what puts him over the edge and puts him back on the level where Bryan Danielson should be. But at the end of it all, MJF, I think, retains the championship in a very, very entertaining match that, of course, they're both going to put on. So with that said, that's the Revolution. That's what's set up for Revolution this upcoming Sunday in San Francisco, California. That's about 6 to 7 hours away from where I live, unfortunately, due to other previous commitments. Can't really make the drive up there. But with that said, I will try to watch this on pay-per-view. Again, AEW doesn't normally mess with these kinds of shows, whether it be storyline-wise or wrestling-wise. So if you have a chance to watch it, I would recommend you buy this on pay-per-view. So with that said, this has been Wrestling Talk. I'm Alexis Carrillo, and I'll see you next time.